obviously things are voluntary right now, but did just want to check in on if you guys have been in communication with Aaron. And
yes,
sort of
it's his birthday today. You guys wish him happy birthday. So talked to him this morning. So dialogue's been good. He's done a great job of communicating, with my relationship with him, and gets a chance to spend, time with his family right now. So I feel good about that.
And then just a couple of guys who are here, but maybe we're in the training room, wanted to check on Daryl. Wanted to check on Van and how Jacob Harris's rehab's going. Yeah,
so Jacob is doing really well. Van, the same thing. When we ended so late in the season, there was a lot of guys that end up getting, just some stuff that you say, all right, let's be a little bit more patient with the offseason approach. Even talking with Zach Taylor, you guys, I don't know if you guys had seen, he took even different approach where he started later than what you're available to. We just trimmed a week off of the back end, so with the 9 weeks that you have available, we ended up going with 8. Daryl just got a little soft tissue thing last week, and it was kind of an injury that he pushed through during the season that kind of crept back up, and we're always going to err on the side of caution right now. You guys even saw, we took a little bit different approach than what we typically would in an OTA setting, where for the amount of guys, and then given the fact when we did finish Jordan, really emphasizing guys, teaching them how we jog through, how we walk through, do some 7-on, really good individual time, and that's kind of the intent of the drill work and what we're trying to get done right now.
Will Stafford throw at all during OTAs or minicamp?
I don't think so. I think we're taking it a day at a time right now, but the goal and the thought process was he'll start to ramp that up when we get closer to training camp. And, he's able to communicate with us, Gary, how he's feeling, but the plans all along have been, hey, let's really stress above the neck some of the things that we can control a little bit, but be smarter than anything else with him, especially with his experience and his ability to communicate with us.
And how was it for you to do the commercial for
How'd you think it was, man? What'd you think?
You had people
that was cool, right?
You missed the draft trailer. They had someone do your part.
I know. Scott Eastwood did better than I would have done, so I'll take that. But it was fun. It's flattering to be able to, take part in a couple of those things with a lot of other people that you have tremendous respect for. Top Gun is a big-time deal, and it sounds like, the new movie is going to be, really fun. And so I was flattered, and they did a good job of making me look better than what I probably should have right there.
You probably thought for a number of years about what it would be like to be a Super Bowl winning coach. How has the aftermath been any different?
Yeah, I would say, number one, I think what you realize, being on both ends of it now, I think you take everything with a grain of salt. You're certainly appreciative of all the blessings, being around people that you're able to achieve something special with. But I think you also have even that much more of an appreciation for the people that are unconditional. The all-time friends, not just the good-time friends. And I think, I'm certainly very grateful for the opportunities, but I don't think you want to be naive to the fact that, hey, you got to be able to, be in the moment, be humble, be present, and appreciate doing it with people that you love and care about. So I think having had the perspective of both ends of it gives you an appreciation not to get too high, not to get too low, and to understand that it's all temporary, and the stuff that matters is the relationships and the way that you treat people.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about just the donation that you and Veronica gave towards the American Red Cross for Ukraine?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked about that, Nick. It was a really cool opportunity that I got to be able to team up with Campbell's the second year in a row, and them knowing how important, and they've always been, a company that's been committed to trying to help some of the lesser privileged, or where there's, some hunger things that people have needs. And so to be able to contribute to, the Ukrainian deal through the American Red Cross was really important. It hits home. I've just been so impressed with, like I mentioned to you guys before, the grace at which my fiance Veronica, and I'll be getting married here soon, has handled this, but also her family and that country. And so I think as a coach, you're always so solution oriented, and sometimes you feel like you feel helpless, but these are the small things that you can do that contribute to hopefully ending this sooner than later.
Sean, today, again, caveat, I know it's not real football yet, but you look like you moved your offensive line around a little bit on the interior. Is everyone healthy? What goes into sort of that?
Just being smart with guys. There's a plethora of reasons that go behind it, Jordan, but sometimes it's guys, let's be smart with, how they're feeling right now. This isn't the time to be able to push it. So see Coleman in there, you see Tremaine Ankrum getting some opportunities, and this time of year enables that for us.
Sean, what's it been like
finally getting a chance to kind of get on the field, get on the grass with Allen Robinson. I know you probably had an idea of his skill set,
Sure.
what he could bring beforehand, but now that you're actually able to see that come to life.
Yeah, Stu, he's a stud. I've been so impressed with just his overall professionalism day in and day out. He's got a great way about himself, locked in the meetings, and then just I think the first thing that stands out is the body control for a bigger receiver. I bet you that he is a baller on the basketball court. You know, he's wired to be able to double up, play underneath himself. Some of those bigger guys that play as big as he does typically don't have the ability to get in and out of their breaks as seamlessly as he does. But I think, you know, his transition in and out of breaks is, you know, how smooth he is for how big he is physically. It's been very exciting and really love getting to know him a little bit more every single day.
And then externally, with the outside linebacker position, there's speculation that maybe free agency or the draft would have been the approach with Vaughn leaving, but
Sure.
You guys essentially stuck to returnees and internal options that you've already got. What gives you the confidence in that group? Why do you like them so
Well,
much?
I think a lot of things, when you go back to prior to acquiring Vaughn last year, you see the production from Justin Hollins. Terrell Lewis played a lot of good football. We all saw really positive strides from Chris Garrett in the preseason. Leonard Floyd has been outstanding for us. And I think also you acknowledge the fact that Vaughn is such a unique player, but more than anything, it's a confidence in Justin Hollins, Terrell Lewis, the development. I think Thad Bogardus does such a great job with that group. But, it's going to be something that we're excited about monitoring that spot. But then also it's, hey, what's the best way to get our best 11 players on the field? And when you've got some versatile playmakers at different levels of the defense, those are things we're looking at as well.
Sean, both Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp talked about the enjoyment of coming to you and saying, hey, what if we did this? What if we did that?
Yeah.
From your standpoint, why is that important? Because a lot of coaches would just say, here's what we're going to do.
Well, I think, communication is at the foundation of everything that we do. And it's not just us transmitting information. It's being willing to listen, let the players give it back to us, and make sure that, they feel clear and they feel comfortable with everything that we're asking. There's an intent behind everything that we try to do. And if we don't necessarily have a why, and Greg Olson and I used to talk about this, and we say it all the time back when we were together in 17. It doesn't matter who's right, it matters what's right. And these are two guys that have certainly earned the right to have a very clear thought process and innate understanding of everything that goes into some of the little nuances that can exist between their communication, both verbally and visually. And so, I think I'd be silly not to listen to those guys, and I think all of our coaches feel that way.
Cooper said one of his ideas was, quote, a dumb idea. He says he's going to tweak it.
Well, sometimes, Cooper, if we could protect with 13 offensive linemen, sometimes these plays that he likes to draw up, I said, that's great, for the 7-on-7 league. I said, who the hell's going to block some of these plays? But no, he understands it. Those two guys, you talk about being around players that make you a better coach. I know you guys have heard me say that over and over again, but their consistency, their approach, their love for the game, love coaching those guys, love working with them.
Sean, Ernest Jones has talked a little bit about going into this thing that he calls like a flow state when he's on the field.
Nice.
And playing, and I'm wondering, when you watch him, even for someone so young,
Yep.
when you watch him and you watch how he moves and also how he sees things, what are your takeaways in that?
Well, I think the game's always made sense to him. Defense is so reactionary driven where in a lot of instances, and not always, offense sometimes dictates the terms where defensively you got to have checks and balances based on what they present. But the game makes sense to him. He really understands that. That stood out on his tape, going back to watching him in college throughout the course of his career. And I think we all saw that as he got more and more snaps as the season progressed. Mature beyond his years for a rookie. I can remember even talking to Thomas Brown about him when he was with him at South Carolina. He was like, it's a no-brainer in terms of what this guy can be, and he was all that and that much more. And I think he and Bobby in the middle teaming up. But I think it's, how do guys find their rhythm, their routine, their flow state, as Ernest would say. And he certainly has done a great job taking steps in the right direction. And I'm excited to watch Coach Beek work with those guys and then be at their best. You're welcome.
How did defensive back wind up being the position that you have such an abundance of bodies right now?
Well, I think when you look at it, we lost some really good players. We were able to acquire a player in Troy Hill who we're all very familiar with that provides a lot of versatility and value. I think David Long's ascension is big time. And then that was kind of a position of need that we identified. Let's get some depth at the safety, at the corner spots. The guys that we drafted felt like, were guys that fit our mold and kind of what we were looking for shaping out the secondary. I don't think you can minimize, Kevin, the importance of how much growth has taken replacing Nick Scott. Jordan Fuller going into his third year. Taylor Rapp being, I think, one of the more underappreciated great players on our football team, who's just consistently produced snap in and snap out. Those three guys. Then you bring in some other younger safeties where they say, hey, this is what it really looks like. I look at Robert Rochelle in a lot of instances as a rookie, because he did some really good things, but I don't think anybody understands all the things he was pushing through, whether it's a wrist injury, he had, ended up having the lung rib type of deal. And so he's a guy who made a great play in 7-on-7 today. You can see the communication in that meeting room with Chris Shula, with Jonathan Cooley and Raheem and Lance Schulters has been excellent. And so being able to identify some of those younger guys, they fit the mold, and looking forward to seeing those guys continue to evolve for us on the back end.
Sean, you guys working?
What's the biggest growth you've seen in Troy Hill since return?
You know what? I just think the experience, Maria, and I really felt that way. I thought he played his best ball in the 2020 season. Thought he did a really good job. I wasn't in the meeting room, don't know what he was being asked to do, snap in and snap out in Cleveland, but you can see the game makes sense. He's got the versatility, but I think it's just like anything else. When you work at it the right way, when you continue to mature, just as a person, the way you approach things, you see it show up on the field. And I would say that's the biggest thing that stood out to me, being around him again. But I felt that way before he left. It's good to be back with Troy.
Are you guys going to work to get a fourth arm in here sooner rather than later?
I don't think so. We got enough fourth arms on our coaching staff.
Sean, we always talk about how the offense, constantly evolves. I'm wondering, never getting high, too low, we not me, the sort of messaging to the team with, the Super Bowl demands on everybody. How much do you think about the evolution of the messaging, or do you lean in harder to the things that have been your tenets because they have been so successful?
I think a little bit of both, Omar. I think I think it's important. We've got the right kind of leadership and the right kind of guys that their mindset is never let complacency set in. Understand last year was great, but we've got to continuously be where our feet are planted. The best at whatever they do are present. They're totally and completely present. That's what we want to be able to do. Understand that you've got to always be evolving, got to be attacking opportunities to look for personal growth, whether that be on the field, off the field, and those are the kind of things that we do talk about. But a lot of it is the core messaging that we've always had, but also understanding that, hey, this is a brand new year. We're not defending anything. We're trying to be the best version of the 2022 Rams that we can possibly be. What that looks like is an exciting thing that's evolving and ever adapting as the season goes on, and even as we get, experience out here into training camp. And so those are things that I think players and coaches alike are excited about. All right? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sean.
All right.